Alright class, today I'm going to do a demonstration of your colored pencil shading techniques for your value project. So you should already have your design drawn out in gray colored pencil on your black board. And what I'd like you guys to do is flip it over, and we're going to do a little practice section on the back. I'd like you guys to draw two little rectangles, just to do some value scales in two different techniques, and then a little sphere, a little circle to practice shading. And what I'd like you guys to think about is there's two techniques: the heavier technique where we're going to lay the colored pencil on heavy and opaque, and the more transparent technique. But starting with my black, I'm going to start with the heavier technique, seeing if you can blend softly from the black to the gray to the white. And the nice thing about colored pencils is that you can layer them. Once I get my three tones down, my white, my gray, my black, I can take the white and I can layer it back on top of the gray. Or vice versa, I can lay the gray back on top of the white so that they start to blend together. And if you feel like you have a scratchy or kind of a liney effect with your colored pencil technique, you could try moving your hand in another direction. And as you're drawing, the pencil strokes are going in the opposite direction, and that kind of smooths out that scratchy look. And we're looking for any place where there's a jump from one shade to the other, or one tone to the other. So that is my first practice. And then I'm going to go for the more transparent technique where I'm laying the colored pencil on not as heavy, I'm not pressing as hard, so that the black illustration board is actually showing through the pencil and creating some shadows. Now at the very edge where I do want pure white, I'm going to press really hard to get that really luminous white. And again, you can still, even though we're not pressing hard, we can still layer the pencil on top of each other. I can pull some of the black back on top of the gray here, kind of smooth that out. I can pull some of the white on top of the gray to smooth that area out. The advantage of this technique is it gives you a wonderful sense of light and shadow, kind of a glowing light. The advantage of the first technique, the more opaque, is that it gives you a sense of 3D. Your objects will become very three-dimensional and solid and have some weight to them. And this one is more about light and shadow, luminosity, glowing light. I notice there's a little bit of a jump here that I don't like from the black to the gray. So I'm going to bring a little bit of my black back on top of the gray just to smooth that transition out. Yeah, that's a little softer. And a little bit jumpy up here. Okay, once you finish that, we're going to go to the circle and trying to create a three-dimensional sphere with that. So I'm going to start with my light side. I'm going to do the heavy technique. That's the one I'm going to choose for my project. You guys get to choose whichever technique you like. I'm adding the white, going for the gray. And I'm just pretending that there's a light shining on one side of this little ball to see if I can get it to look 3D. And then I'm finishing with my black. And then again, I'm looking for any areas where it looks a little harsh. There's a little bit of a jump from the white to the gray. So I could lay a little bit of gray on the white, and I could pull a little bit of the white back on top of the gray. Now it's hard to see the edge of my ball on the dark side because it's black against a black background. So I'm going to pretend that there's a white table here, just so you can see where the ball ends. Okay, so there's my 3 practice warm-ups. my sphere and my transparent technique and the opaque technique. And then I'm going to flip my project over and start working on laying the colored pencil into my shapes. Now, looking at the original project here, I'm noticing that I'm trying to follow, and you don't have to follow exactly copy whatever value or tone is here, but I'd like you to get pretty close to it. I noticed that in this area, this is a lighter gray, so they created the lighter gray here. I see that this shape is solid black, so they colored penciled in this shape pure black. And even though there are stripes here, bold stripes, it translates as a dark gray. So I see that they took that shape and translated and color pencil into a dark gray. Now here's where they switch things up. I noticed that on their little sun rays here that are pretty flat, just a flat gray, they wanted to create a little more 3D, so they brought in little shadows on the edges of those rays and highlighted the middle, and they start to look more like little tubes. And then they really went and shook things up with taking these flat black triangles here and creating 3D by splitting the triangles down the middle and having light on one side, dark on the other. So they look like crystals or, you know, prisms. The stipple, instead of, we're not doing dot, dot, dot anymore to create the shading. So what they did is they translated the dark to light stipple and just translated it to dark to light colored pencil. So black fading to gray, fading to white. And I noticed that they created a little more contrast in this little diamond shaped here. They really emphasized the different quadrants of that diamond, and they went extra dark, medium dark, white, and light gray. So they got even more depth in that diamond. So once you've decided on your technique, you would just be looking at your project and, again, copying the value, but you can make some changes. So I would start with the spheres over here. If I'm going to start working with the spheres again, I would start with my black on the edge and working with the grays. And finishing with the whites, and then working on blending everything. Seeing where a tone is not really blending into another tone, there's a little bit of a harsh gap. And you're going to have to press, you know, put some pressure on your color pencils to really get those pure whites and those pure blacks. And that's the project. So I look forward to seeing your projects, and if you guys have any questions, shoot me an email or text, and have fun with the shading.